it's hard to see things, people that you love, and animals and other things that you really love, including the water. It's hard to see them struggling and changing. And everything is alive here. The Creator put all this stuff here and it's all life. And if we think about things that way, every time we do something, we affect everything else in the universe. And I remember Walt Brezett in some of the discussions that we had in the talks that he was a part of, when he's speaking of the 7 generations and what we're going to leave for the 7 generations down the road, what's it going to be like. And some of the things that he said, they really kind of ring in your mind. He says, the earth itself and the water and everything, that they're spiritual and they're living entities. And if we keep playing around and doing things that we know we're not supposed to be doing, he said someday the earth is going to just shake us off like a bunch of fleas off of a dog. And I see those kind of things happening in different places today, where there's a lot of earthquakes shaking earthquakes are taking place. The water, I don't think it ever ceases to exist. It moves. It goes up into the air and it travels to another place and it comes down. Like I had mentioned about the spiritual part of it and the ceremonies that need to take place. And in some places they do, in the spring, gathering all these items and putting these bundles in the water for their families and for their communities. Some still do that in a lot of places, and we try to. We sometimes forget, but it is important to remember those things, remember those connections that we have. The importance of having our traditional rice chiefs, say, for an example. They know when the rice is supposed to be gathered, and in most cases there's ceremonies that are done. And even with the rice, doing the ceremony is a big part of it, because the spirit of that rice is waiting for that, waiting for you to acknowledge that. And water, again, that has a very powerful spirits that live there. Those manigus in there are really very powerful. If the water becomes undrinkable, if you ask in the right way, maybe it'll clean itself. Maybe it'll show us how to clean it. And I think a lot of people already know how to take care of the water. And if we allow the earth itself to bring itself back into balance, instead of trying to change it all the time, things will happen in the right way. The life that we have here is pretty precious, and it's good. And if we acknowledge those spirits in the water and all these things, all these spiritual entities, we can live in harmony and good, in a good way with all these things.
I made my living on water for near 40 years, and it means a lot. It means my life. And for the reservation, it means their life because it's clear water, the clearest water, fresh water we ever got in the whole world is Lake Superior. It's the clearest, the deepest, and I can say that here because we don't have no factories. Our water is clear. You can drink it. I drank it for 40 years. And then if you go say Milwaukee, where the big cities in, I'd never drink their water. Just because the water looked like tea. It just, it's so polluted. And I caught a lot of fish in my life in the water. When I was young, there was about maybe 20, 25 fishing boats here. Now we're down to 6, I guess, down to 6. Because the younger generation just won't hack it. They just can't get up 4 o'clock in the morning and go to work. And that's the biggest problem. Them days, there were a lot of fishermen. I mean, guys would go fishing. And now, like the pay is good right now, but there's very few people, young guys, that'll go fishing. Even when I was first starting, there was young girls fishing because that's the only place there was money. And me now, I worked pretty much about 35 years. I had my own equipment on board. I used to work, my mind was, I worked like a greyhound. I hired 2, 3 guys, which I did. And I told them 6 o'clock, I said, at least come by 5:45. I said, I work like the greyhound. They said, how in the hell is that? I said, you go to Ash and greyhound leaves at 6. You come there at 5:05. Where's the greyhound? Gone. I said, that's the way I operate, and which I did all my life. Water was a big thing in the wintertime. Summertime, we'd go up to the pump, it was nothing. And the pump would break down, we'd all pitch in and get it fixed, But I'd hate to see what would happen today. It'd never get fixed. And the biggest thing that hurt us up here in all the northern part was when taconite was being built. They polluted this whole damn western part of the lake. And even our fish got it. Then they finally closed them down. And 5 years after that, the water cleared itself up and our fish came back 100%. That just shows you what I've seen is pollution will kill you. Once you got poison water, you're just as good as dead. A lot of times, all winter long, we'd haul water right from Lake Superior, or a hole in the ice, that's all. Artesian well, there was one by Rabidoux, I don't know if you want to call it artesian, or they were just wells, regular plain wells you dip your water in. Artesian well is one that runs, like raspberry, that's artesian well. There wasn't too many of them, but there are a lot of plain wells around here. Pure water, they just bubble from the bottom, Water was just crystal ice cold. On the bottom of the well, it was just boiling, just coming up all the time. You could never run that well dry. We didn't have no pumps or nothing. We just dipped it into our pails and hauled it home. But them days are gone now. I think kids did that now, they'd fallen and drowned. When we were kids, it was against the law for us to hunt. It was against the law for us to fish. I got caught 3, 4 times, different times, But that was from the state of Wisconsin. And the tribe says, well, you can do it. We'd go out and if we got caught, they'd never back you up. So you just went to jail. So it was a tough life. We're still here today, so we beat them.
As far as water goes, when I was a kid, we had to haul water. And we moved to Bad River, and we had no water, no outside toilet. And there was a well there. And so my brothers wouldn't help me haul in water. Wash days was something else. You stayed away from Mom because we had to haul that water in, and she had to change it. Yeah, so we got the heck out of her way when she was washing. And then I'd have to hang the clothes up outside, and they would freeze in the wintertime. and we'd have to bring them in the house and stand them up by the stove so that they would thaw out, and then had to iron everything. I didn't rice. I'm allergic to bugs and stuff, so I could never go out, but I would help them. Dad would put it in a big wash tub and put it by the fire, and then he would turn that rice. Then he would made an invention where it was a little motor that he made, and it would blow air on that rice, and the husk would come off, and then we'd have to pick and clean it after a while. Well, I think, this is just my own thinking though, something's in that water that's causing cancer. That's what I think. And that's just my own personal opinion, because there's so many people with cancer, and it's got to be something in that water that's causing that cancer. And I blame the ore boats and stuff out here. They got those big tanks in the bay there, and there's so many people we lost so far because of that cancer, and I believe it's those tanks that are out there. We had a lot more snow than we got right now. We didn't plow us out that much, but we'd have snow probably as far as the ceiling, 12 feet in the air, and we used to climb up those and play outside. We always had to play outside about half an hour a day or more. And we had a heck of a lot, because I remember going way past my waist when I was trying to walk to school. And yes, I did have to walk a long time to get on the school bus. That's why we go out and eat on Friday nights now for fish, because we like fish. Because he's a commercial fisherman, and now my sons give me fish. And I have fish maybe at least once a month anyway. We're both healthy, I think, because we eat a lot of fish. Fresh fish from Lake Superior.
Yeah, my life did revolve around water quite a lot, because one of the first places we lived was down by what's now called the Duffy Dock, which was the only dock around. But we used to have a lot of fun down on that dock. By the time you were, I'd say 8 or 10 years old, when you start venturing out onto the dock a ways and learn how to dog paddle a little bit, you got thrown in the water. So. But no, it was kind of fun down there because the water was always clean and fresh. And you get thirsty, you just dive down till you hit cold water and start drinking. I don't think you could do that today. And some of the folks also had springs out in the back that they knew about, and they'd go get fresh water from the springs, because this whole area is just loaded with just freshwater springs. But I used to get into going fishing at the herring season primarily, because back then we didn't have our rights and stuff. So if you were going to do any fishing around here for home use, you'd have to sneak out in the late evening and go and set a net and get out there really super early in the morning and get it back in again right away, and hopefully you wouldn't get caught. Shared quite a bit with a lot of people when I did catch fish, and I was also involved in trying to stop the 2 docks going in down in our harbor down here. We set nets all the way around there, because at that time the federal government already said that it was illegal for anybody to interfere with natives fishing. So we set the nets right around those docks so they couldn't get a boat in there to finish putting the docks together. We did that for a month or two, and it just got to be too much of a job to get out there every day, because it was just a couple of us doing it. It did stop them from putting those docks in for quite a period of time. But they did get the docks in, and the fish disappeared down there. You could no longer go and set nets in that area and get fish, because the spawning beds were shot. And I don't know if they've come back now. That was quite a few years ago. But I kind of doubt if the spawning beds came back, because you change the complete flow of the currents and everything around there. I know I worked with the people in Bad River, and when they were first getting going and everything, and they said they finally found the old farm area that the Bad River group used over there. And he says they don't know what it was, but there are great big hills all over there. I said, I bet you were running north and south. He sat there and thought about it a little while. He says, yes, they were. It's because that would be the way to do it, and you wouldn't have to till your gardens or anything. And they had these big mounds, and the tops were about 3-4 feet wide. And the reason they ran them north-south is the sun comes up in the east, you get condensation on the west side of your garden. The moisture goes in there, and you very rarely have to water your garden. So those old Indians were pretty smart. They had that all figured out. And having those mounds that were 2-3 feet high, and it was in the lowlands over there by the Bad River. So even though it would flood sometimes, the water would only come up and be a foot high or so. And all their plants would be just fine. My brother-in-law, Sam the Wild, would go over to Bad River and get a bunch of rice and bring it home, and he'd have me get up on they had little tripod type sticks going up against the building, and I would have to stand in there and dance the rice. I did a lot of that stuff, and then I helped winnow it some and sit there and pick through it, and then we'd get to eat some.
I belong to the Red Cliff Band of Lake Superior Chippewas, located in the northern part of Wisconsin, and Lake Superior has always been basically my backyard. As a former tribal leader, I've had the opportunity to specifically work with issues with water. Water is important, ricing is doubly important to us, and our culture is being threatened by all of the variables, if you may, out there. And we had to fight to gather our water rights for specifically inland lakes. And we succeeded in that in the early 80s, and it's been since then archived and distributed throughout probably the country through the Great Lakes Indian Fish and Wildlife Commission. And when you have leaders that sit down at the table and just simply refuse to look at water resources and how it's become an endangerment, if you may, to our culture, that it's a absolute crime like genocide. No one has a right to take that resource away from the Indian. Water is a great, vast, if you may, area that is meant to not only protect, provide you with good food, with the fish that comes from it. It also is a great means to use at your own will to keep yourself clean, drink if properly taken care of, and replenishes your soul and your body in many, many different forms. I think all of us should be reminded each and every day how extremely important water can and should be. You wake up in the morning, you take a look outside, and sometimes we, the local people, forget what a beautiful place we actually live in. And we tend to forget the prestigious, if you may, beauty that surrounds us is here, and we, locals, every single day have this beautiful, beautiful area to be blessed by.
we need water. And without water, there's no substance, there's nothing else. You just need water to live. We as Indian people, I don't think we had anything to do with water in terms of making it real unsafe to drink. Say, for instance, Lake Superior, if you will. The one thing that comes to my mind immediately is the dumping of those barrels. And there's like hundreds and hundreds of them in there, but there's all other things in the lake as well. And when all those things that are unnatural in the lake come out, then nature has a way of keeping it in that state, if you will. We as Indian people, or as Anishinaabe, in our teachings, as young as I can remember and hearing it from our elders, is that we're charged with the responsibility, if you will, of protecting Mother Earth. And that kind of broadens it a little bit further than just water. And so whatever we have to do, that's sort of like was given to us, that responsibility as nature's children, if you will, to be able to protect the water and protect Mother Earth. And here again, ricing in and of itself, but it's to all our, not only ricing, but it's our medicinal plants and herbs and everything that we depend on. When that is threatened, when you can no longer use it because of the pollutants and how it has gotten away from its natural state, that then becomes so threatened. And so culturally speaking, we depend on that natural state. The fish here, not only here but in Lake Superior, but throughout Indian country, there was a test case here back in 1969 in which I was a part of. There was 6 of us that had gotten arrested out here on Lake Superior, and it wound up being Gurno versus the state, and that happened just down here where the legendary casino is, Legendary Water, and that wasn't all there. It was all just kind of like a little park area. Of the 6 of us that got arrested, like 5 of us had kind of passed on now into the next world, and I'm the only one now that can test that. The controlling factor of either the federal or the state government saying that you can no longer fish, you can't do this, you can't take water from here, that's not the Indian way. That's not our way. We have to have that freedom to use those natural things that keep us who we are, if you will, as Indian people. And that needs to be protected at all times. When you just look at water and ricing and how it relates overall, holistically, it's more than that. It's become more than that for us as Indian people. And that's because, like I said, we're charged with the responsibility as Indians to protect Mother Earth.
Bujunis Anishinaabe, Wapshipaneshi, Indigenous cause, Miigwech Totem, and Miss Kong, and Chippewa.
My name is Ginyu, and my English name is Leonardine. I'm from Redcliffe.
What water are we going to be able to go swimming or go fishing?
Fishing.
Spearing, wild ricing.
See.
Why is water important?
It's important because so we can actually survive and live on this planet. Well, water should be protected because without water we won't be able to do a lot of our traditional stuff like wild ricing, spearfishing, fishing itself, and we wouldn't be here. I've been spearfishing and it was fun. I liked it. I didn't catch a lot of fish, but it's okay.
I went spearfishing the same day as he did, and it was pretty fun. We got to sit around a fire after done spearfishing. But when we did go spearfishing, I was the one that caught the most fish. I caught the second biggest fish. I joined youth council because I wanted to make a change in our community involving our youth.
I joined it, 1, because of my mom hating me, and 2, because I did want to make a change to our community. There is some problems in our community with the youth, like drug use, alcohol use, and stuff like that. And it provides a lot of opportunities, like to go spearfishing a lot, because we can actually provide activities for the youth and ourselves to go out and do stuff like that. So it's actually pretty cool. I went out to the task force meeting, and of course Glific was there, and I learned a lot. Like they're talking about wild ricing and what would happen if our water was polluted and we wouldn't be able to do a lot of our wild ricing.
Buju, Minogijigabo, Indigenakaz, Migazi, Indudem, Misquabikang, Indunjaba.
Buju, Nijote, Indigenakaz, Name, Nindodem, and Misquabikang and Dujaba.
Buju, Nij, Anishinaabe, Nijinini, Indigenakaz, Migazi, Indudem, Misquabikang and Dujaba.
Well, water for me is a huge thing because in my activities, in my cultural activities, water is a big thing. Like when I go ricing, I'm able to get out on the water in a canoe and get food and bring that back to my family, my community. And when I go spearing, the fish are in the water, obviously.
Water is almost everything to the Anishinaabe. We are around Lake Superior, so we have to use the water for our fish, ricing.
Water means everything. Water is life.
Well, first time I went ricing was 2015. And it was really fun. We went out with a bunch of Anishinaabe people, and we brought some canoes, and we all went on to this lake. It was amazing. There's rice beds everywhere. We got the rice. My dad taught me. Took me about 5 minutes to get used to it. And there was spiders everywhere and ladybugs. But other than the bugs, it was a pretty fun time.
So the first time that I went ricing was 2015 as well. And we went to Pakwewang, inland lake, and I went with my younger sister Sophie, and then my mom was also with. We brought a canoe, some knockers that my dad had made a couple years back from White Ash, actually, and we had big long boots on, had socks covering over our jeans so that all the spiders inside the boat wouldn't get in our pant legs and crawl up our legs and bite us later or something. And then all the worms that get in the boat. But even though all of those spiders and the worms and all of those things can affect your ability to do your cultural activities, and you have to push through those things and just keep going with it.
If the water was polluted, then we wouldn't be able to like swim in Lake Nesbitt. We wouldn't be able to hear the loons in the morning. We wouldn't be able to fish for our bass. And during the winter camps, we wouldn't be able to ice fish or set nets. So keeping the water clean is very important. Miigwech.
I think that water should be protected because if we lose the water, that we
lose everything.
We lose everything. We are giving up a huge part of our culture.
Water should be protected because if it gets polluted, then we won't have any of that fish or that rice to feed our families, and we need food.
Like my grandpa used to say, look down the 7 generations, and he didn't want, because I'm his grandson, he didn't want me to come to the world with polluted water. And he said, why would you want your grandchildren to not have clean water?
So my name is Chase Morado, and I'm the Red Cliff Fish Hatchery Manager here. A little background on the hatchery that I know about is the building that we're in was constructed in 1994 and 1995. We primarily deal with coastal brook trout and walleye. Those are 2 of the species of fish that are important to the people of this area. So what we do here at the hatchery is actually more of a put and take thing, where we'll put more fish in the Lake Superior on the reservation shoreline, so that whether it be our home use fishermen or some of the other people, the sports fishermen around the area that like to come and fish these fish in this area, we'll actually put those fish in there so they can take those fish out and supply them to their families or other community members that are looking for those fish. We deal with the walleye that are speared out of the surrounding lakes in the ceded territory. Our tribal fishermen actually go and spear the fish, and then we're down there at the boat launches, and we'll collect the eggs and we'll fertilize the eggs on site, and we'll bring them back to our hatchery. And what we'll do here is we'll raise those fish up to an extended growth size, and then we'll put those fish back out in the lakes that they actually came from. It's one of the things not a whole lot of people really know about, is that those fish are taken from a certain lake, then we're also replenishing that stock of fish that we took from. What we do here in the hatchery for the brook trout is a little bit different. We have our own what we call a brood stock. So what we'll do is we'll hold some fish for about 6 to 7 years, and throughout that 6 and 7 years we will actually take those eggs from those fish and bring them over to our production building, and we'll hatch the fish out here on site, and then we will raise them for another 15 to 18 months, and then we'll release them along the shoreline, and that's where we get our brook trout, and that's where we put those fish back. We actually just installed a partial recirculating system in our hatchery. So instead of just letting it go through the tank one time and out, we actually wanted to reuse some of that water so that we're being stewards of the land and making sure that we're not using more than what we need, and just making the best use possible of that resource that we have. So one of the things that we also do in this department is we work with the fishery in Lake Superior. One of the things that we'll do is we'll set assessments, and what it is basically setting gill nets in different locations, whether it be historic spawning sites or current spawning sites for lake trout and whitefish and Siskiyou. So what we're actually trying to do is help with the population estimates and age classes of fish. We'll collect scales on all of the fish, and then if there's any mortalities throughout the assessment, we'll also take an otolith, and that's an aging structure. So they're kind of just like a tree, and they'll have different growth rings throughout their lifespan. So you'll be able to count those different rings on either your scales or your otoliths, and that'll help us to tell what age class is doing strong and what populations are actually out there, and that'll help determine what we can set the limits and work with the DNR to come out with our quotas for how many fish will be able to actually be caught by our tribal fishermen.
So the Red Cliff Water Resources Program has been around since the 1990s, and we've been collecting water quality data since then. I came on in 2012. Since then, we've been monitoring for wild rice, surface water, groundwater. We worked with USGS and some macroinvertebrate monitoring. I think to begin with, it's essential to recognize that water is a basic human right, which includes the right to life. Water is an important substance on this earth. Where there's water, you're going to find life. All plants and animals, we depend on it. So when thinking about water, there's three components to take into account. There's the scientific component, traditional ecological knowledge, and also economics. And there's no one category that's more important than the other, but they're all interrelated. Working for the Red Cliff Water Resources Program, I feel that it's our job as staff to help facilitate dialogue between traditional ecological knowledge and also science. I believe with the integration between those two categories, we're going to have informed management decisions that will help protect and keep our waters here pristine. I think the relationship that Indigenous peoples have with the land and water is important to cultural identity, vitality, and resilience for the past, present, and future.
So the reason why the water should be protected now and for years to come is because what did 7 generations before us fight for? They didn't fight for us just to give up and not fight at all to the water being protected. So they fought, we should fight, and 7 generations ahead should fight as well.
I love Lake Superior. Honestly, it's one of my favorite things. I love the lake. It's like my clan is Nibi, which is the sturgeon. So I always felt a connection to the lake and water. Mew.
Those things that we talked about, the water, it's a very important part of our life because it's a part of us.